Thales of Miletus, the Greek philosopher. Exploring the philosophical contributions of one of the 7 sages of ancient Greece. Welcome to the Academy for Modern Stoic, a space dedicated to the study and reflection on Stoic philosophy and its application in the contemporary world. Here, among others, we explore the ideas of the great philosophers of antiquity, drawing connections with modern life and looking for ways to live more fully, virtuously, and in harmony with nature. Prepare yourself for a journey of self-knowledge and wisdom, where reason and ethics guide our steps. Understanding the life and thought of Thales of Miletus is fundamental to any serious study of Western philosophy. His insistence on rational explanations and his theory of arche as water offer an indispensable starting point for exploring the big questions that define philosophy and science. Thales of Miletus, born around 624 BC in the city of Miletus in Asia Minor, is often considered the first Western philosopher. Miletus, a prosperous Greek city located on the coast of modern-day Turkey, was an important commercial and cultural center, facilitating the exchange of ideas between various ancient civilizations. Living in a period of great cultural and intellectual development in Greece, Thales is recognized as one of the 7 sages of Greece, a title given to figures who were respected for their wisdom and practical knowledge. Transition from mythical thinking to rational thinking. Before Thales, explanations of the natural world were dominated by myths and religious stories. Natural phenomena such as storms, earthquakes, and eclipses were often attributed to the will of the gods. Thales, however, inaugurated a new era of thought by proposing that such phenomena could be understood through rational and natural principles. He argued that the world could be explained without resorting to the supernatural, a fundamental step in the development of science and philosophy. Contributions to mathematics and astronomy. In addition to his philosophical speculations, Thales made significant contributions to mathematics and astronomy. Mathematics. Thales is famous for his geometric theorems, including Thales' theorem, which states that if 2 lines are bisected by a pair of parallel lines, then the corresponding segments are proportional. He also introduced the notion of mathematical proof, laying important foundations for the later development of geometry. Astronomy. Thales successfully predicted a solar eclipse, which would have occurred in 585 BC. This prediction demonstrated an advanced knowledge of astronomical cycles and reinforced his reputation as a rational and scientifically oriented thinker. Philosophy and the search for rational explanations. In the field of philosophy, Thales is perhaps best known for his theory that water is the arche, or fundamental principle of all things. He proposed that water is the primordial substance from which everything originates and to which everything returns. This idea not only reflected a search for a unifying principle in the natural world, but also showed a systematic approach to understanding the complexity of the universe. Thales believed that by understanding water, one could understand the essence of all existence. Pioneer of scientific thought. Thales' incessant search for rational explanations for natural phenomena distinguishes him as a pioneer of scientific thought. He paved the way for future philosophers and scientists by demonstrating that the natural world could be understood through observation and reason, rather than being viewed solely through the lenses of mythology and religion. Philosophical legacy. The legacy of Thales of Miletus is vast and lasting. His insistence on reason and observation as means of understanding the natural world set a standard for future philosophers and scientists. He is often cited as the first to break with mythical tradition and initiate a rational, empirical approach to the study of nature. This paradigm shift is seen as the beginning of Western philosophy and science, profoundly influencing later thinkers such as Anaximander and Anaximenes, and later, pre-Socratic and classical philosophers. Breaking with mythical tradition. Before Thales, explanations about the world were largely based on myths and religious narratives. Thales was a pioneer in proposing that natural phenomena could be understood through rational, observable, and consistent principles. This scientific and philosophical approach represented a radical change in the way human beings understood the universe. Influence on later thinkers. Anaximander and Anaximenes. His direct successors in Miletus, Anaximander and Anaximenes, followed in his footsteps by seeking fundamental principles to explain reality, such as infinity, apeiron, and air, respectively. These philosophers continued the tradition of searching for rational and natural explanations. Pre-Socratic philosophers. Thales' influence extended to pre-Socratic philosophers, who continued to explore the natural causes and principles underlying the world. These philosophers expanded and refined Thales' initial ideas, contributing to the development of scientific and philosophical thought. Classical philosophy. The principles established by Thales were fundamental to the work of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Aristotle, in particular, recognized the importance of Thales, crediting him with the beginning of natural philosophy. Foundations of Western philosophy. Thales established the foundations of Western philosophy by proposing that the world can be understood through rational principles. His empirical and rational approach became a model for scientific and philosophical inquiry. He showed that knowledge can be acquired through observation and reason, rather than relying exclusively on myths and religious beliefs. Importance of reason and scientific investigation. Thales' influence continues to this day, serving as a milestone in the evolution of human thought. His emphasis on reason and scientific inquiry highlighted the importance of a systematic method for understanding the world. This rational approach became the basis of modern science and philosophy, inspiring generations of thinkers to seek reasoned and coherent explanations for natural phenomena. Thales of Miletus, with his groundbreaking contributions, established a lasting legacy that continues to influence contemporary philosophy and science. He reminds us of the importance of questioning, observing, and seeking truth through reason, marking the beginning of an intellectual journey that shaped the course of Western civilization. Search for rational explanations for the natural world. Thales is notable for his attempt to explain the natural world without resorting to myths or gods, a significant break with the religious and mythical traditions of the time. He proposed that natural events had natural causes, setting a precedent for scientific investigation. His thinking was guided by reason and observation, fundamental elements that inaugurated a new era of rational and empirical understanding of the universe. Thales observed the world around him and sought to understand natural phenomena through rational principles. He believed that everything could be explained without appealing to divine or supernatural interventions. For example, he sought logical explanations for phenomena such as eclipses, earthquakes, and climate change, basing his theories on rational observations and inferences. This revolutionary approach represented a paradigmatic shift from a mythological to a scientific worldview. The importance of this transition cannot be underestimated. Thales not only challenged traditional explanations, but also created a new way of thinking that values empirical observation and deductive logic. This method of inquiry became the basis of modern science and natural philosophy, profoundly influencing how knowledge was sought and understood in subsequent centuries. Importance of water as archie, fundamental principle. One of Thales' most famous ideas is the theory that water is the archie, or fundamental principle of all things. For Thales, all forms of life and all substances derive from water and, in some way, are sustained by it. This hypothesis not only demonstrates an attempt to find a unifying substance underlying the diversity of the natural world, but also reflects an intuitive understanding of the importance of water for all living things. The choice of water as archie symbolizes the search for a simple, unifying explanation for the complexity of the universe, a principle that echoes in many later philosophical traditions. Thales observed that water is essential for life, is present in different states, solid, liquid, and gaseous, and is capable of transforming and moving in ways that appear to give rise to and sustain life. This observation led him to conclude that water is the primordial substance from which everything originates and to which everything returns. Thales' theory of water as archie also has broader philosophical implications. It represents a first attempt to identify a fundamental element underlying the apparent multiplicity of the natural world. This effort to find a unifying principle is a fundamental feature of philosophical and scientific thought, which continues to influence the search for unified theories in modern science, such as the theory of the unification of fundamental forces in the universe. Furthermore, Thales' idea that water is the fundamental principle influenced many later thinkers, who continued to seek similar principles to explain the nature of reality. Philosophers such as Anaximander and Anaximenes, successors of Thales, proposed other elements, the apeiron and air, respectively, as archie, but followed the methodology established by Thales of searching for a primordial substance that could explain the diversity of the world. Thales' vision of water as archie was a landmark in the history of human thought, showing how reason and observation can be used to understand the world. His innovative approach paved the way for natural philosophy and science, promoting a worldview that continues to inspire and guide the search for knowledge to this day. Hellenistic philosophy focused on ethics and the search for happiness. Stoicism is one of the most influential schools of thought in Hellenistic philosophy, emerging in the 3rd century BC in Athens. Founded by Zeno of Citius, this philosophy places a significant emphasis on ethics as the path to true happiness. For the Stoics, happiness, eudaimonia, is not achieved through pleasure or wealth, but rather by living a life of virtue and rationality. Emphasis on virtue, reason, and living in accordance with nature. The Stoics believe that virtue is the highest good and that reason is the main guide to the virtuous life. Living in accordance with nature means aligning our actions and desires with the rational order of the universe, accepting destiny and focusing only on what is within our control. Stoic practice involves the development of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, which are considered the cardinal virtues. 3 figures stand out in the history of Stoicism: Zeno of Citium, Seneca, and Epictetus. Zeno of Citium. Founder of Stoicism, Zeno established the basic principles of Stoic philosophy, including the importance of logic, physics, and ethics. He taught in the painted portico, Stoipoikon, in Athens, from which Stoicism derives its name. Seneca. A Roman statesman and philosopher, Seneca applied Stoic principles to political and personal life. His letters and essays offer practical insight into how to live according to Stoic precepts, emphasizing the importance of self-discipline and control of emotions. Epictetus. Originally a slave, Epictetus became one of the most influential Stoic teachers. His teachings, preserved by his students in works such as the Enchiridion Manual, focus on the idea that we must serenely accept what we cannot change and focus on our own behavior and attitudes. These figures, through their lives and writings, shaped and propagated Stoic principles, creating a lasting legacy that continues to influence philosophy and ethical practice to this day. Possible connections between Thales and Stoicism. Rational and naturalistic worldview. Both Thales of Miletus and the Stoic philosophers share a rational, naturalistic approach to trying to understand the world. Both reject supernatural explanations, seeking instead logical and observable explanations for natural phenomena. Thales proposed that water is the archie, or fundamental principle of all things, explaining the diversity of the natural world through a single primordial substance. As Stoics, they believed in logos, the universal reason that permeates and organizes the cosmos. For the Stoics, logos is the rational principle underlying all existence, similar to the way Thales viewed water as the unifying substance. Importance of water in Stoic philosophy. Although the Stoics did not consider water to be the archie, the metaphor of water is significant in their philosophy. Symbol of change, adaptability, and constant flow. Water symbolizes the ability to adapt and change according to circumstances, an important concept for both Thales and the Stoics. Life as a river. In Stoic philosophy, life is often compared to a river, where wisdom lies in navigating its currents with serenity and discernment. Panta re, everything flows. This famous maxim of Heraclitus, which influenced Stoic thought, emphasizes the ever-changing nature of the universe, a concept that resonates with Thales' view of water as the basis of all transformation. Virtue and mastery of passions. Moderation and self-control are central values for both Thales and the Stoics. A moderation and self-control. Thales defended the importance of moderation and self-control, values that are fundamental in Stoicism. Stoics believe that true happiness and virtue are achieved by living according to reason and controlling the passions. A quest for wisdom. Both Thales and the Stoics see wisdom as the path to happiness. Living in accordance with nature and seeking a rational understanding of the world are ways of achieving virtue. Overcoming passions. For Stoics, overcoming irrational passions and desires is essential to achieving inner peace. Thales also valued serenity and balance, principles that help maintain calm in the face of adversity. The connections between Thales of Miletus and Stoicism reveal a rich intersection of philosophical ideas that explore nature, reason, and ethics. Thales's rational approach and his emphasis on moderation are echoed in the Stoic principles of living in accordance with nature and pursuing virtue as the path to happiness. Destiny and acceptance. Both Thales of Miletus and the Stoic philosophers recognize the importance of accepting fate and focusing on what is within our control. The importance of destiny and acceptance. Both Thales and the Stoics emphasize the need to accept what is beyond our control. This acceptance of destiny is a way of maintaining serenity and inner peace. A focus on Stoic control. Stoicism teaches that we should focus our efforts only on the things we can control, that is, our actions and thoughts. What is beyond our control must be accepted with tranquility. This practice is central to Stoic philosophy and is summarized in the concept of amor fati, love of fate. The wisdom of Thales. Thales of Miletus is attributed with the phrase, "What cannot be remedied must be endured." This quote reflects a Stoic attitude of acceptance of the inevitable and resilience in the face of adversity. Thales, like the Stoics, understood that inner peace comes from accepting destiny and focusing on what can be controlled. These ideas of destiny and acceptance demonstrate how Thales of Miletus and the Stoics converge in their philosophical understandings. Both recognize the inevitability of certain aspects of life and the importance of a calm and rational attitude towards them. Focusing on what we can control and wisely accepting what we cannot is a crucial lesson shared by these two philosophical traditions. Thales' influence on Stoicism. Possible influence of Thales' ideas. Thales' ideas about rationality and the search for fundamental principles may have influenced the founders of Stoicism in their formulation of a philosophy based on reason and nature. A rational and naturalistic worldview. Thales' rational and naturalistic approach establishes a foundation for Stoic ethics, which also seeks rational explanations for human behavior and the workings of the universe. The connections between water as arche and logos as universal principle. Thales' conception of water as arche can be seen as a precursor to the Stoic idea of logos, both representing a unifying principle underlying the diversity of the world. The importance of moderation, self-control, and acceptance of destiny. Thales' emphasis on moderation and self-control resonates with Stoic practices of cultivating virtue and accepting fate with equanimity, showing a continuity of thought about the importance of mastering the passions and living in accordance with reason. Conclusion. Despite the differences, there are significant points of convergence between Thales of Miletus and Stoicism. Thales' philosophy, with its focus on rationality and the search for natural explanations, can be seen as a precursor to Stoic ideas. Both traditions value reason, moderation, and acceptance of destiny, offering profound teachings on how to live a virtuous life in harmony with nature. Analyzing the connections between Thales and Stoicism provides us with a richer and more complete view of both philosophies. This expanded understanding not only helps us appreciate Thales' intellectual heritage, but also better understand the foundations of Stoicism and its ongoing relevance in the pursuit of a full and balanced life. If you are interested in philosophy and want to deepen your knowledge about how to live a more rational and virtuous life, subscribe to our channel, Academy for Modern Stoic. Share this video, leave your comment, and participate in our community in search of wisdom and harmony with nature. Join us on this philosophical journey and discover how the ideas of Thales and the Stoics can transform your life.